Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Courtney and I'm the Emmy Lion. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about brain retraining. I've had a lot of you guys asking me since I started the channel, have you tried brain retraining? And I'll be honest with you, for a very long time, I really would not even consider that. I was kind of under the impression that it was sort of a just think positive and everything will be fine kind of approach. And I thought that it trivialized the reality of the illness and what we were going through. And I thought, I've tried that. I've tried to mind over matter things and keep going and act like things are fine. Well, that's not what brain retraining is. I was terribly wrong about it. Then I kind of open myself up to that. I guess I just decided to be more open-minded about what it actually was. And I started listening to some podcasts where people had been through brain retraining and what they had to say about it. And then I thought, well, I think I understand the gist of it and I can probably figure this out on my own. And I was already, trying to figure out ways to stay in more of a parasympathetic state with my nervous system and, trying to do different activities that brought on that sympathetic dominance, laughing and, breathing exercises. Prayer for me is that way, spending time with the Lord. Getting out in nature, just the things that sort of calm our nervous system and put us in that, or get us out of that fight or flight state. Obviously, if your body thinks you're running from an axe murderer, you're not going to watch a comedy special or you're not going to sit down and do crafts. So when you're doing those things, it's actually sending some safety signals to your brain, putting you in that parasympathetic state. So I decided to actually do a brain retraining program because what I was doing, and I think it was working, but I've been on my own trying to figure this thing out for a long time, and I want to be done with it already. And I thought, well, maybe if I do a program, it'll speed things up. I don't really need to reinvent the wheel, and I think part of my issue is that I've had ME/CFS for 25 years, and I'm 42. So anyone at least my age and older, we have been dealing with this in a time where there's really been no information. There's been no help. There's been, well, hi. Daddy, move your little butt. Come here, move your little butt. And yeah, there was really no information, and we probably were not even really meeting other people that have this illness. So we were kind of on our own with it. And I think you get so used to that, that you're just trying to do it on your own. And then it kind of dawned on me that, yeah, like I said a minute ago, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. If there are people out there who have figured this out and have beat this illness, I probably need to listen to what they have to say. Like, what was I thinking? I don't know. Well, I had listened early on to some brain retraining stuff, and I guess I listened to one or two interviews, and like I said in the beginning, it came across to me like I was like a negative worrywart hanky twiddler and now I'm better because I thought positive or something, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought all that was kind of offensive, honestly. And so I was in the wrong. I misunderstood what it was. I judged it, made an opinion about it, and then was really resistant to it. So that's a lesson to us all, and we're probably all guilty of it. We need to give things a chance probably, or at least look into them more before we form such strong opinions. And I don't know how come I did that. I've been pretty open-minded through this whole process about trying different stuff. So anyway, I've decided to do a brain retraining program. I don't know if I should say which one. I don't really know the etiquette around all of that. And probably the person's program that I'm doing, I don't think they would mind. But just for now, I guess I won't say, but I will say eventually when I know it's okay. I mean, I guess it's okay. I don't know. I'm weird about all this YouTube stuff, and I don't know. I don't know if it's okay or not to talk about I don't know why it would be a problem. As I'm saying it out loud, it sounds like, why is it even a problem? Gizmo. So anyway, it's good. It's helpful, and I think it's been the missing puzzle piece. I think it's why I've almost recovered a few times, and would fall right back down. There's this one missing piece, and that's realizing that this illness is a hypersensitive nervous system, and that makes sense to me. Okay, cat, listen. There's a whole big table here. There's a whole big table. Why do you have to sit in front of the phone? Seriously. Because he knows. He's like, pay attention to me. You're staring at the phone. I'll sit in front of it, so you'll stare at me. You can get my lap, buddy. Okay. What was I talking about? All right, we're talking about brain retraining, and I've decided to do it. And it's going really well. I've been in the program less than 60 days, probably about 45 days. And like I said, I do think it's the missing piece. And I think the work I've done before getting into this program really prepared the soil for the brain retraining seed to sprout really quickly and take root. And if you guys haven't looked into that, those of you who haven't looked into it, and maybe you were under the same impression that I've been about it, look into it. And there's several programs out there, and you're going to want to find, I guess, a program. I'd do your homework, obviously, and, see what other people are saying, but you're going to want to find someone that fits you and your learning style. And I found a couple people that I really, really liked, but their accents were so thick that I had a hard time tracking with them sometimes. And that's probably dumb, but if I'm going to pay the money and do a program, I need to be able to follow it really well, even on days that I'm not in good shape and that my brain is really foggy. It needs to be simpler, and sort of wading through thick accents and stuff like that. And there's I don't have a problem. I'm from Appalachia. I know I don't have a thick Appalachian accent. I don't know how I ended up without one. My parents do, and the people around me do, so I don't have a problem with thick accents before anybody gets upset. And I don't think my audience is like that, but just throw that out there. So yeah, and I'll give you updates, but along this journey, this last nearly 8 years where I've mostly just been housebound, I've been in here like a little laboratory, trying to be my own doctor, my own nurse, my own researcher, dietitian, all the things, because you guys are doing it too. And the reason you're here is that you're looking for other people who are doing it. And are they having any success? What are they doing? That's what we're all doing. And I would say that during that time, I think one of the first things I tried was herbalism, lots of different herbs. And that was helpful with some symptoms. It wasn't curative, but back then I was really still in like an allopathic mode, trying to find here's the symptoms, what's the thing for each symptom. And then, at one point I kind of traced it back to the autonomic nervous system, but I didn't really quite know what to do with that. And I think, that led me down a path of finding the brain retraining. Like I said, that was years ago, but I had I didn't have a correct view on what it actually was. And so I never looked into it again. And now I'm like, that was years ago. Maybe I could have saved myself a lot of trouble, but I would have missed a lot of the learning opportunities. And, it was just meant to be this way. And I'm okay with that. So then, I did carnivore, and I really did carnivore for about a year and a half. I did 6 months. I was making some mistakes. I came off of it and then went back onto it for about a year. So about a year and a half of carnivore, which was immensely helpful. Carnivore took me from bedbound, couchbound most of the time to really being semi-functional with, like my energy envelope has been pretty small still, but I feel like a normal person just like within that envelope. And what I mean by that is just like my daily routine, getting up, getting my face washed and my teeth brushed and being able to make some food and do some laundry and kind of tidy up the house. There was a point where if I was able to just do that, I felt like I was doing pretty good. And then you get extras, it's like, oh, I can get in my car and I can drive into town once a week. And then it's like, oh, I can go more than once a week. And oh, I can go back-to-back days, right? And so carnivore expanded my capacity immensely, and it did it quickly. And I think the reason that carnivore works really well is because I think it's very supportive to the nervous system. I think the high levels of animal fats, our brains are made of fat, and our neurotransmitters are coated in myelin, which is made of cholesterol. So I think it's very supportive and soothing to our nervous system. And so I think that, and on top of that, it's so nutrient dense. The foods you're eating on carnivore are so nutrient dense. And despite what the PETA people tell you, because I believed it in my 20s when I was a vegan and then a vegetarian, that meat rots in your colon, all of that stuff, which isn't true. It actually is pretty much fully digested in your small intestine. So it's easier to digest actually, and very, very nutrient dense. And I think that allowed me to get more nutrition. I don't even think I was really digesting my food much before that. I was just running to the bathroom all the time. And, so it was helpful on multiple fronts. And additionally, it simplified things for me. It was like, okay, I only need this one food. And for the most part, I could eat once a day. And so that gave me energy to do other things. And then while I was doing carnivore, I started seeing a Christian counselor just to help me untangle some of my thoughts about being so sick. You have a lot of negative thoughts. I'm a burden. People would be better off without me. Am I being punished? You get sick, and when you have this much time alone in your bed or in your recliner, you can't help but you do a lot of thinking. You can't help it. And that's just how your mind starts running. And so I started seeing a counselor to kind of help me with some of that. And then we started working through some past traumas and some of the things that probably set me up to have a hypersensitive nervous system in the first place. And I think ME/CFS is a perfect storm illness. It's a this and that. I don't think I've heard anyone say they got, like, one thing happened and then they got this. And I'm sure there are cases like that out there, but normally it's kind of like me. I thought that it was just from a virus. I had a really bad go around with Epstein-Barr virus when I was in high school. It cost me most of my senior year, and I was never the same after that. And so that definitely played a role. But I think what may have made that so severe is that simultaneously I was going through something that left me with PTSD. And so that state of fight or flight that I was in, it suppresses your immune system. And so when I got sick, it allowed that pathogen to really just probably wreak havoc. And something that otherwise probably would have been like 1 week of being sick, pulled the rug out from under me, in a lot of ways. And the further I got away from 17 or 16, 17 years old, the more ridiculous it sounded when I would try to explain to people, I had mono when I was 17 and I've never been the same. But that's true. It is true. And it's not just that, and then it's like I had this terrible mold-filled apartment in my 20s, and I didn't know that mold was a problem back then. It was gross and it smelled bad, but I didn't really know that it was so detrimental to your health. My health went to crap then too. And then, so like my whole life, or not my whole life, but since 17, it's like I get knocked down, I kind of get up on my feet, but I've never gotten back to that original baseline and I'm not going to feel at 42 like I felt at 17, not likely. But that's the only thing I have to compare it to. And so what I mean by that is just like that feeling of normal in your body. I haven't had it. And during carnivore, I had glimmers of that. I had days where I felt like a normal person. And then, it was about this time last year. I think I was almost recovered. I was doing so well. I did that interview with Dave from No Carb Life. I was getting out of the house back to back multiple times a week. I was doing really well. And then my little soul kitty died, and that set me back. And it really took me about 6 months to probably get back to where I was before that happened. And so honestly, this time last year, I was probably doing a little bit better than I am now, but I'm doing well right now. And I'm learning so much with the brain retraining that I know it's going to make me so much more resilient, not only now, but in the future. So I apologize for my resistance to brain retraining. And I guess that's all I'll say about that. So I just wanted to let you guys know I'm doing a brain retraining program. For all of you who have asked, yeah, I'm doing it. I'll give you updates. I don't know when. I'm not a regular poster. You guys know that. But I'm going to try to do better about it. I can tell it's happening. I can tell I'm getting better. I don't know how long it will take. That's the thing. And you just kind of have to take one day at a time and have a good attitude about it. We don't have to have an attitude that's ridiculous. I'm not saying to be overly positive. Just try not to stay in the negative. If you can get to kind of a neutral space, like, yeah, today's a bad day and it sucks. Don't dwell on it, and don't let fear start running the show and running away. Like, oh my gosh, I'm having a bad day. I shouldn't have done those things. And did I make it worse? Am I going backwards on my, the thoughts? Because you can't help it, but it isn't helpful, and it can make things worse to freak out and kind of get in that doom loop. So don't do that. All right. I'll talk more about brain retraining sometime. I don't really know the etiquette, and I don't know how much I'm supposed to say or share. The person who does this has free YouTube videos, and they share a bunch of stuff. So I'm pretty sure I can talk about it, but I don't know. And I don't want to, I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you're doing well on your journeys. Hey, everybody, keep your head up. If you are newer to this illness, there are a lot of resources out there now. Just be glad that, we live in a time where you can get on YouTube and see other people who are going through what you're going through. And it helps to just not feel quite so alone. And it helps to not feel so crazy. I felt crazy. I never met anyone like me. The symptoms sound crazy. And it's like, I have been through a lot. Like, maybe I'm a little crazy, but I'm not crazy. And you're probably not crazy either, at least not any crazier than anybody else. So be kind to yourselves and stay the course, okay? All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys. Oh, well, I'll do that in another video. Okay, bye.